COVID-19 crisis has had a global impact on consumer behavior, shifting short-term purchase patterns and accelerating long-term changes in how we work, socialize and shop. We've seen Chinese consumers embrace a new normal, and we want to share the trends and innovations we've seen in China with UK and European brands so they can learn how to bounce back. So the new normal in China is really an acceleration of existing trends, and in particular the shift to online. Now that trend is global. Here in the UK, we've seen people shopping online for groceries who have never shopped online for food before, but it's much more pronounced in China. For example, in May, while there was a slight decline in retail sales in China, there was a growth in online sales of over 15% in physical goods. At the same time as this shift to online is taking place, what's really exciting for European brands is that there's more interest in China than ever before for imported goods. So what we saw in the June quarter was an increase in sales of imported goods on Tmall Global of over 40% year over year. So when you start to think about this new normal and what it can mean for European and UK brands, it really means you can meet Chinese consumers online, but you also have a great opportunity, perhaps for the first time, to start exporting your goods, to go truly global and to go to China. So there are a few key trends that we're seeing in China coming out from the pandemic, but two in particular that we're seeing are what people are looking for and how they're behaving. So what are Chinese consumers looking for? Well, in particular, what we're seeing is people searching more and more for products that help them live more healthily. So things like healthier food, organic food, meal replacements, supplements, protein shakes, fitness fashion. All of these categories are doing incredibly well as people start to think, how do I look after myself better during a pandemic? The second thing we're seeing in terms of behavior is, of course, a shift to online, but also a shift in how people are behaving online. There are more innovative ways to shop than there have ever been before. So live streaming, to take a simple example, grew 100% year over year on Taobao Live last year. And that shift has only accelerated during the pandemic as people spend more time online. McKinsey tells us that in March of this year, 38% of consumers had actually engaged in live streaming. The average Chinese consumer was spending about 5.5 hours a day online in March 2019. It was over 7 hours a day in March 2020. So that's the biggest shift we're seeing, but there are plenty of other examples as well, whether it's augmented reality, giving consumers richer experiences online, or things like 3D shopping. And IKEA is a great example. 3D shopping has put its entire Shanghai flagship store onto Tmall so that you can effectively virtually walk around that store just as you would a traditional IKEA store. During a period of so much change, there are obviously lots of things that European brands can learn from Chinese consumers, but I would pick out maybe just a couple of things. The first of those is to meet them where they are. Chinese consumers, like consumers all over the world, are spending more and more time online, and they're spending more and more time on platforms where they can find all of the products and all of the services that they love. So for European brands, you have to make sure that you're present online, that you're showing up there, that you're on these platforms, and that you're giving Chinese consumers the opportunity to connect with your brand online just as well as you do offline. The second thing is that brands really need to try and keep up with the consumer, because we're innovating, consumers are innovating, and brands need to innovate as well to keep up. So that means as consumers embrace live streaming, brands need to embrace live streaming. As consumers embrace AR and 3D shopping, brands need to do the same. And if brands can follow the consumer and try and keep up with this innovative online consumer, then they'll have a great chance to connect with them wherever they are.